New Zealand Warriors up against the Newcastle Knights. NRL Round 4 action coming to you from GoMedia Stadium. Let's take a look at the two teams lineup. Hey team, welcome back into the Warriorholic. Apologies for being out of the loop and getting this one out a little bit late, but man, I shattered after those couple of weeks in Japan, so needed a couple of quiet days, but just had to put something quickly together for you guys. Review both teams here for my own sort of sanity to see what might happen. So I'll share my thoughts. It's not going to be a long one, but let's take a look. So over the years, the Warriors and the Knights have played 47 times. We have a winning record against them with 24 wins versus 22 and the one draw. Looking to stretch that out to 25 today. Last year we went one each. They scored 34 points against us in the first game we played, which is one of the most points we conceded last year. Yet we came back and put 40 points to 10 on them in that semi-final. Really hope we can repeat that again this week with a massive crowd there at home. It's got to be a proper sellout this time, so excited to see how we go. In 2024, both teams going 1 from 3 so far. 1 win, 2 losses. Total points conceded, we've conceded 56 and we've scored 56. They've conceded 46 and conceded 61. 79% completion rate for us, 73 from them. So they've had a few errors. I do believe it's about 14 or 15 errors in the first couple of rounds and then 13 last week, whereas we were 9 errors in the first couple of rounds and 13 last week. So hopefully we can get it back down into the single figures. Hopefully they get back up to around the 15 and give us some quality ball. Average points conceded there, we've got 18 versus 18 now, 15 4 and 20 against. So we've got the slightly better record there playing at home. Hopefully that it's going to be a good chance for us to get a decent win here. Looking at both teams though, like we have struggled to really click, but we've played some quality football, probably better than a lot of teams that have scored more wins than us at this point. But you know, it doesn't really matter how well you play if you can't get the 2 points. Where they've been a little bit scrappy, they've had a lot of errors. I think they've really struggled to get into games. Kalyn Ponga hasn't been in his best form ever, but he's still managed to pull off some magic moments. So let's take a look at the two teams now. At the back, we have got RTS up against Kalyn Ponga. Like I said, Kalyn's struggling to find that form he had in the back half of last year. I think a big part of that is he's missing a couple of key men around him. No Dominic Young there. He's off to the Roosters. We've got Greg Maju's been out for a while now, so that does make a definite difference in the half sort of combo, struggling to get into a consistent sort of role there. RTS, though, playing his first full game at fullback in a number of years here, so people have been calling for that for a couple of weeks. Tane Tuolpiki, I think, has done a very admirable job. And I think when CNK comes back, we're going to want Roger in the centre. So it's good that Webby's been trying to get him, into playing that role, getting in comfortable in the position. But I am excited to see him at the back here. He proved when he did go to fullback last week with a little bit more space to move, he can break those tackles a lot easier. He got that great try there. So I'm excited. I feel bad for Tuolpiki. He may struggle to get back in now for the rest of the season. Poor bugger, but hey, we've got to have our best players out there, and I think RTS at the moment is our best option. Kalyn Ponga, though he might be struggling for form, man, he's still got the X factor. We saw that skip past to Tuala last week there on the left-hand side to put him over untouched in the corner, so we've got to put a lot of pressure on him. Expect SJ to be putting those contestable bombs up on him all game, like we did against Jordan Rapana last week and against Coates the week before. Seems like a set plan there to sort of take their most impactful runner out of the first few hit-ups there. So he'll be being peppered with bombs all day there with the crowd shouting at him. So I think they're both world-class fullbacks on their day, but I'm going to give a slight edge to RTS. I reckon he's going to light it up and come close to man of the match. On our left wing and on their right wing, we've got Marcelo Montoya up against a young fella, just 8 games here in Jenkins. Both very similar size, but Montoya runs with a lot more aggression. Jenkins still sort of finding his way, but he's a very good player who can definitely, put the ball over in the corner, give him the chance. He's got a lanky sort of build, can offload there, but not quite the same level of power, maybe a little bit quicker. That said, they're really missing Greg Maju and Dom Young on those wings. Yeah, that's some massive meters, try-scoring abilities in Young, who's not there. I think he scored 27 tries last season, so A lot of pressure on the young fella here. I think he'll go all right. I think this will be a pretty even matchup, but just that confrontational running style of Montoya might get him a slight edge. I'm not 100% sure, though. Then this centre matchup will be an interesting one. This is just how they've got them lined up on the NRL website, so I'm assuming that this will be how they'll go, with Pompey coming into left centre here with RTS going to fullback. Great to see him get back. A few people wanted Ali Lautia to come in, but I think it's only fair Adam gets the first shot based on what he delivered last year. Who knows, but I'm happy Adam gets a chance. I think he's well worthy after what he delivered last year, and I think he'll have a big game this week and remind people of the good things he's actually capable of. He might get a bit of shit about defence at times, but individually he's actually a pretty good tackler, but he's got a good late step, good distribution. I think actually he'll probably get a bit more ball out to Montoya. We've seen RTS struggle to get those passes away when he's been playing centre. Up against Lucas, who's actually a second rower. Honestly, don't know too much about him. Don't know if he's even played centre before. I'm sure someone will let us know in the comments. Just 9 games in there, so he'll have a bit of a handful there with a bigger man and Pompey with that late step. Obviously going to be a good defender if he's an edge back rower, but it's a bit of a different position, dealing with those defensive reads at centre there, so hopefully Adam Pompey can exploit that. Then on the other side, this will be a really interesting matchup here. Rocco Berry up against Bradman Best, shifting across there after Dane Gagai went out. Berry with the advantage in height. Obviously the weight there with Bradman Best, quality player, state of origin level last year. That said, he's sort of struggled to really find his best form this year as well. So good chance for Rocco. I think he is in actually better form than he was last year. So excited to see how he continues to progress. We know he's going to be focused on that kick chase, his defense. I think he's got the defense to handle Bradman Best. Can he get a bit of a step on him and break through him? I don't know. It's going to be pretty tough for Rocco to make those meters when he's hitting those hard yards, running into that brick wall, because Bradman Best can put on a decent hit. But 2 different styles. I think it'll be a pretty even matchup. But if I'm honest, as much as I love Rocco, if Bradman Best can find a state of origin best, name and form, who knows? I'll give him a slight edge here, but reckon Rocco will handle him okay. Dallin Watene is a Lesniak against Tuala on the other side there, who's actually a centre playing on the wing, with no Dom Young this season and no Greg Marju at the moment. He's a very strong player, actually pretty quick. Looks quite lean out there, but he's almost 100 kg, so very similar size to Dallin. I think this is going to be another good matchup. I think both averaging around 150 metres per game, so he's got a similar sort of running game there, but like I said, it's not quite as destructive as we would have seen from Greg Marju or Dominic Young last year. So I think Dallin should be able to handle him. Only time will tell. I've given up this whole underestimating our opposition with what we've seen so far this season and this week. It's bloody hard to predict who's going to win a game or who's going to win a battle, but I'm going to give a slight edge to Dallin. Then at 5/8, we've got Luke Metcalf coming in for his 23rd game up against Tyson Gamble for his 53rd. A lot of conjecture around who should actually be in their halves. We've seen a few changes already. Jackson Hastings being dropped out of the squad completely. Gamble is a very solid player who I underestimated a little bit last year. I thought he was a little bit one-dimensional, but he proved that he's a pretty solid player. Very aggressive runner. He's a big boy there at almost 1.90 m. It astonishes me how many 1.90-ish tall 5/8s we've got playing in the game these days. Up against the more whippy Metcalf, I think Metcalf's been playing well. He's connected better with the guys outside him, but he's still getting a little bit lateral. So I'd like to see him really straighten it up and take it to the line and give Pompey some good quality balls so he can create some space for Montoya. I'd love to see Montoya get another try or 2 this week and really challenge for the top try scorer this year, having had a pretty lean year last year. So looking for a lot more of our left side. But yeah, it'll be a pretty even matchup, although they won't be matching directly head-to-head. But as far as what they contribute, expect Gamble to do a lot more of the kicking than we'll see from Metcalf, though. Then on to the halfbacks. Sean Johnson up against Cogger. Cogger just the 58 games, but not too many of them starting, having come from the Penrith Panthers. We saw what he did in the grand final last year. He did struggle last week, though. Man, he put a couple of balls out on the full. He just sort of struggled to find his timing, and I guess that's what happens when you come out of the best team in the NRL era and jump into a team that's not quite as functional, doesn't have the same level of players, it really exposes your weaknesses a lot more. Expect SJ to do a bit more of the kicking. Like I said, he'll be putting those bombs up on Kalen Ponga all day. We'll be hopefully smashing him. Colgo, look for him to kind of step up, but I'd say that, we'll be putting a lot of pressure on him, trying to take away his time. Hopefully he'll have a bit of a mare, and that's one position that we can really dominate in. Into the props, we've got both Saifiti brothers in this week, with Leo Thompson being out due to that was the high or the taking Pappenhausen out in the air the other week. Never mind what happened to our man CHT, who doesn't even get penalised. Actually, I think he got penalised. But anyway, Saifiti, a big boy there, taller than AFB, but not quite as heavy. Actually, I think they make a pretty good combination here. It's kind of interesting how they usually play one off the bench to come on and sort of take that, carry on the momentum once they're going. So it'll be interesting to see how their bench props go with these two big boys starting. AFB, I think he's playing some solid form. Love to see another try from him. So just basically on this whole form, I think, and his ability should have a slight edge over Saifiti here. At hooker, I really like Felix Crossan. I think he's a really good player, very solid. But man, Wade Egan back is a huge one for us if he does end up playing. Looking forward to see how he goes. I hope that elbow holds up. Hope he can pass freely, because he'll really unlock our momentum. On to prop there. Mitch Barnett up against his old joint. Rumours he wants to go back there at the end of his contract. I really hope he doesn't. I'd love to see him stay on with us. Up against Daniel Saifiti. Saifiti there, a slightly bigger guy, but I think Mitch Barnett's been playing some of the best footy we've seen from him since he's come to the Warriors over the past couple of weeks. Really stepping up that leadership, really eliminated a lot of the errors. So I expect him to get a slight edge on this based on fitness and just all-round drive, I think, because he'll be keen to have a big one against his old club. Jackson Ford up against the Wiley Fox, and Frizzell's going to be a big challenge for him there. Almost 250 games now for Frizzell, representative experience. Jackson Ford playing some great footy, just getting a little bit ahead of himself every now and then, getting the odd mistake coming through over enthusiasm. I hope he eliminates that this week, because Frizzell's a guy who's going to try to wind him up, kind of trying to put that extra little bit of pressure on him to try and get him to have those brain explosions. But we see last year goes about 170 odd running meters, about 45 tackles or something. So he's got a massive motor. But size Frizzell, look for this to be a real even matchup, but just that experience may slightly get one up there for Frizzell. Kurt Capewell up against Pierce Paul, the Englishman, almost 2 meters tall, big lanky guy, full of legs and arms. It's going to be a real tough challenge here for Capewell to try and tie him up and stop those offloads. He hasn't really clicked into form since he's arrived yet, but you can see the potential in this guy. Once he sort of finds his feet in the NRL, he's going to be a massive handful. So hopefully he doesn't click this week, and I hope Kurt Capewell can deliver that form we saw against the Sharks, because he's had a couple of slightly quieter games since then, probably playing off those ribs that are hindering him, but hope this is the week that he really steps it up and takes it to the next level. Then at the back, we've got Tohu up against Adam Elliott. Adam Elliott doesn't really get the recognition as one of the top locks in the comp, but I think he's a really good player. He's very serviceable, a lot of energy, great on defense. Probably doesn't have the same ball playing skills as Tohu, though he has got some pretty soft hands. Tohu Harris coming off, close to a 10 out of 10 game there last week, 50 tackles in 80 minutes. I've written Elliott off a couple of times coming in against us, and he always steps up. So I think this is going to be a very even matchup. But I expect Tohu to just get that slight edge there. He's our captain. He shows the way. So then we get to the benches. We've got Lasik Neokore back in there finally. Ahoa and Jazz Tavanga coming in for Dylan Walker, who's succumbed to that foot injury again, up against Brayley, Jones, Croker, and Hetherington. So what do we got there? We've got a hooker / middle with a push. We've got a guy capable of playing middles, edge, centre if necessary, out and out prop. Jazz pretty much anywhere in the middle, a little bit of cover there for hooker. And they've got a hooker, a second row, and 2 props. Energy-wise, I like what we've got now with Neokora and Jazz on there. A little bit of conjecture around what it is that kept Bunty on there ahead of Tom Ali and Jazz Tavanga, who both put up much bigger numbers, but there's obviously something Webby's looking for, having that little bit of extra size there up against a big pack there. Curious to see how Bunty goes. Questions over Niakota's fitness. Having had a broken foot, he wouldn't be able to run much, but trust that Webby wouldn't be putting him in there if he wasn't ready, and I just can't wait to see him have that big impact once he goes up against the tired middle there. That speed and aggression he runs with. And my man Jazz, a few rumours around at the moment that he's being told he's not getting re-signed and he's off to another club. I asked him and he said he hasn't, nothing's been decided yet. So either way, I expect him to have a big game there to prove that he should either be staying here or try and get himself another contract. For them, Jake Hetherington hasn't had a lot of football this year. I was always a fan after he came over to the Warriors and played for us during COVID. Huge body there, but I think just struggled with sort of that, the mental issues, having a few brain slaps, poor tackling technique that have seen him spend a few too many weeks on the sideline. But I really like him. I'd be curious to see what he'd go like webbed up. Big aggressive boy like him. Their bench is solid and serviceable, but I do think that energy that we get on ours should get us a slight edge here. So overall, what I think, they haven't been in the best form. They've had a lot more significant losses in players than we had. No Dom Young, no Greg Marju, no Dane Gagai, who's a big game player, pulls out those big plays. Leo Thompson. With our team, we're getting that boost of having RTS and Luke Metcalf in there, who weren't there last season. So I think in the last game we played, I think we should be able to get too much on them. I think we've played more consistent footy, and they're still pretty reliant on Kalen Ponga. So if we can shut him down, win that middle there, I think it should be a 13 plus to the Warriors. But Christ, that's probably going to come back and bite me. I've only picked one right game so far this week in my tipping, so I've got no idea, to be completely honest. Some of those upsets we've seen, but I hope we don't see one today. Right, but we're going to lock it in. 2 points, 13 plus, off the back of a massive GoMedia Stadium crowd this week. Let's go the Mighty Warriors. Enjoy the game, people.